Welcome to our shir, Parshas Vayeitzei, Tavshin Pei Aleph, and I'd like to just take a moment to reflect on something that we said last week and maybe bring it a little further. And that is, we talked about how the Sedras Lech Lecha and Vayera give different, from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, different signals. In Lech Lecha, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling us, go. You have to accomplish in this world. You have so much to do. You have to go out and be Mekadosh Shem Shemaim everywhere you go. You have to bring your Kedusha. You have to bring your Tahara. And then we have in Parshas Vayera, V'hu Yoshev Pesach Oil. He's sitting. He's taking the Kedusha that he has and he's bringing it to the place that he is. He's intensifying the Kedusha where he is. And sometimes one's the Avodah, sometimes the other's the Avodah. And we said that that is the Avodah of the COVID. And we have the Tekufas HaKovid, as we call it, where people are indoors, they're in their houses, they're not able to go out. And maybe that's b'kavanah from the Rabbi Shalom to help us take the relationship that we have, intensify them, deepen them, spend more time with ourselves, spend more time with our Torah, with the Rabbi Shalom. And I was just thinking that if you take a look at the beginning of the different Sedras in our Parsha, each one, Riz Maram is almost all of them to one of these two. So we have our Parshas Vayeitzei. Some of them are locomotion, Lech Lecha, Vayeitzei, Vayigash, and they tell us to go out and to accomplish. And other Parshas, Vayeshev, be in your place, be settled. So we see in amazing, without this we never would have thought of such a machshava, but we see always the Rebbeinu Shem's thinking of us and giving us hadracha. And sometimes hadracha is Lech Lecha, sometimes hadracha is Vayeitzei, sometimes hadracha Yigash. And sometimes it's Hu Yoshev Vayeshev. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu should help that we should all do the things that we need to do in any matzav that we're in to always be Mekadosh Shem Shemaim. So this week we have the birth of all of the Shiftei Ka. And it's amazing. Every single one has a limud, every single one has a lesson, every single one is a whole world unto himself. You know, the reason that there's 12 Shvatim, because each one contributes something amazing to the tzibur of Klal Yisrael. And it even goes to our day today. We have different nuschayas, we have different people with different cultures all over the world. Everybody gets into the tremendous, together they create a hashlama, together they create something which is whole, something which is beautiful, something which is Klal Yisrael. So I'd like to share with you something I saw in Vayeitzei, the Sefer, the Azure of a Rebbe, and the Ber Moshe, that we've shared in the past, but I think it has a special resonance and another angle to help us through this Tekufas HaKovid that we're in, and another way to understand what HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to try to grasp what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is guiding us in doing what He's done with this pandemic. It says, we take a look in the Pasuk Perek Chav Tes, we talk about the Leid of Yehuda. Right before Perek Lamed, the last Pasuk in Chav Tes, Lamed Hey, says, Vatar Oy Vatelid Bein. And Leah has another son, and again it stresses Vatahar Oy Vatelid Bein. Somebody important. We talk about not just the Leida, but we talk about came before it. And she says, Hapam Oides Hashem, I thank Hashem, because of course we know that they knew, the Imos knew there were going to be 12 Shvatim, and she knew that by having Yehuda, she's got more than her share, because there's been 3 apiece, and this was number 4. So she says, I'm giving Haidat HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm giving thanks to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Al Ken Karshma Yehuda Vatamay Miledas, and she stops having children. And Zayd asked the question, what does it mean she stopped having children? Yisachar Zvulun are still coming. She knew there were going to be more. So what does it mean? They knew that there would be more of Shiftei Ka. What does it mean Vatamay Miledas? In what sense did she stop giving birth at this time? Then we go weiter in the pasuk. It says, "Vatera Rachel, and Rachel saw ki lo yolda liYaakov, v'tekana b'chayis, and she became jealous of her sister." So Rashi says, what does it mean from Chazal? What does it mean became jealous? She became jealous. It must be that she gave birth. Her ma'asim tovim must be better. She must be a bigger tzaddikus than me. Because the most rakaras, otherwise giving birth, I mean, people have children. You don't have to be a tzaddikus to have a child. But they're rakaras, she said, it must be more than me. But still, it's a little troubling that the great Mama Rachel, who was willing to give up everything for Leah, she gave over the Simanim, she was willing to be married to Esav, as we've said. what's the pshat? What was she mekane about achaisa? It doesn't, in the simple sense of jealousy that she had a child. It doesn't make sense. Rachel was too great for that. So the kinna must be a greater kinna that we need to understand. And then finally she says, "Vatarmel Yaakov," something astonishing that doesn't. We have a hard time understanding. Havali banim, bring me banavim ayin mesa noichi. I'm dead. I'm dead. Is that Azay Retman so Aman? Is that how you talk to your husband? That's not the way. Again, we're talking about Rachel. We're talking about the great Mama Rachel. Shouldn't she talks like that? My son, give me. What's the pshat? How do we understand? We can't understand. The Torah said it. It's not just a regular husband-wife discussion. It's got to be more than that. That the imahos knew that the purpose of life is kiddush shem shemayim, to mikadosh HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this world. That's what we're here for, to make a kiddush Hashem. That's what as a child who trained, make a kiddush Hashem, make a kiddush Hashem. And they all wanted to have children that would be mikadosh shem shemayim. And when Leah came along and she had Yehuda, who was going to be mikadosh shem shemayim in the mice of Tamar, she said, "Oh, now I have a child that's going to accomplish my dreams. Now I have a child that's going to be mikadosh shem shemayim. Now I've achieved what I need to. I might have more children, but I've achieved what I wanted to in this world by getting a child who's mikadosh shem shemayim." And that's why she said. That's why the pasuk says, "Vatamod miledas." She didn't stop from having children, but miledas for her purpose that she wanted mikadosh children, mikadosh shem shemayim. That she accomplished already in this world. And that's what Rachel saw. And that's what Rachel's mekana b'chaisa. She was mekana, she said, she has a child's mekadosh Shem Shemayim, ich hab das nicht. So listen to this, so beautiful. Vatera Rachel ki lo yolda liYaakov. It says, Vatera Rachel ki lo yolda. If it would have been just that she didn't have a child, it would have said, and she saw, ki lo yolda, she didn't have a child. But what does it say? Vatera Rachel ki lo yolda liYaakov. To Yaakov she didn't have a child because she was going to make the shiv take kah, and she was going to have a child. She didn't have a child with mikadosh shem shemayim, and she turns to Yaakov and she says, "Give me bayin mesa noichi." And she said, "If not, I will have to die al kiddush Hashem. My life has to be some way mikadosh shem shemayim. Mesa noichi. I'm going to have to die al kiddush Hashem, so I should be mekayim my tafkid in the world to bring kiddush shem shemayim in the world." To make a kiddush Hashem, Mesa Noiti, I'm going to die al kiddush Hashem. You know, Rabbi Akiva said, I waited my whole life for this moment to mikadosh Shem Shemayim with my life, to mekayim my very life to use for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Halo Davru. So said Rachel, if I don't have children to be mikadosh Shem Shemayim, Mesa Noiti, I'll be mikadosh Shem Shemayim by myself. And then amazing what happens next. So we turn the page in the art scroll, and we take a look and we go over to the next parak, Pasuk Chav Beis. It's page 86. Vayizkar Elokim es Rachel, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu remembers Rachel. Vayishma Elah, and he listens to her Elokim. The double lashon, right? He remembers Rachel, and he listens to her. So it's an interesting lashon. He remembers. What do you mean? HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't forget. Means in the sense that he remembered Rachel's tefillah, what she wanted. Vayishma Elokim, vayiftach es rachma, vatahar. Again, we talk about it. Vateled bain. Listen to what she says. What did she name him? Vataymar also lekim es charpasi. Hashem has taken away my busha, my shame. Vatikra es shmai Yosef, and she calls him Yosef. Why? Lamor. Yosef Hashem li bein acher. Hashem should give me another son. So this is an amazing thing that Rachel did, and it's a kasha otzum. You go to a bris, and the Baal bris gets up and he says, okay, this kid, no problem. I need another one. You say, "Ay, das is a coffee type." Thank the Rebbe for this one. Make the bris, and then you'll have another one. And afterwards, you can start having another one. But at least give him some space. Give him a little time for himself. So what does she say? She names her son Yosef. So I should have another one. That means okay, but I need another one. How do we understand when she said this? Obviously, again, the Mama Rachel, what does she understand? So Zokta Zaidi explains that Yehuda was Mekadosh Shem Shemayim, and that's what she was Mekana. So she wanted a son also Mekadosh Shem Shemayim, and she got one. That was Yosef, because Yosef Mekadosh Shem Shemayim with Eishes Potifar. But there was a difference in the Kiddush Shem Shemayim between Yehuda and Yosef. Because the Kiddush Shem Shemayim of Yehuda was Befar Hasya, was a public Kiddush Shem Shemayim. It was in front of everybody. Oy, das is a busha. The Kiddush Shem Shemayim of Yosef was Betzina. Zok Rachel, thank you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you took away my cherpa. You took away the shame and the embarrassment of not having a child Mekadosh Shem Shemayim. But this one is only going to be Mekadosh Shem Shemayim Betzina. I need another child Mekadosh Shem Shemayim Befar Hasya. So therefore she said, Yosef Hashem li ben acher. She said, Hashem should give me another son to Mekadosh Shem Shemayim Befar Hasya, just like Yehuda. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave her that son. And that son was named Binyamin. Because Chazal tells us, the Gemara in Soita, Daf Lamed Zion, tells us that when the Yidden got to the Yam Suf, and there's Kriyas Yam Suf, how did it happen? So we're all familiar with Nachshon ben Nadav. But the Gemara says, Zachnachatz Pshat, that the whole Shevet of Binyamin jumped in. And they went, and that's why there was Kriyas Yam Suf. So it was a Kiddush Shem Shemayim, it's Tamei Elevelu Divlikim Chaim, sure. But Azay Zok the Gemara. So Binyamin was Oichet Mekadosh Shem Shemayim Befar Hasya. So she said, I need, thank you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Yosef, who will be Mekadosh Shem Shemayim Betzina. But I need another one. Yosef ben Acher, give me another one, Mekadosh Shem Shemayim Befar Hasya. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave her Binyamin. And we see an amazing thing, that Yehuda and Binyamin, throughout their life, were always tied together. Because remember, the Beis HaMikdash was in the chelik of Yehuda and Binyamin. And when the Shvatim broke apart, all the Shiftei Ka, there were 10 Shvatim, right? The Aseret Shvatim. And there were the 2 that remained within the Malchus of Yehuda. What were those 2? Yehuda and Binyamin. So the 2 that were Mekadosh Shem Shemayim, they became, there was a bond between them. There was a symbiotic bond between them, that they always were together, because they both had that Inyan Mekadosh Shem Shemayim. So Rachel Baruch Hashem, she was Zoichet to 2 sons. One that was Mekadosh Shem Shemayim Betzina, and one Mekadosh Shem Shemayim Befar Hasya. And then in La'asid Love and Mitzvah, there's going to be 2 Mashiachs that we're going to have. One is the Mashiach ben Yosef, who will be the first Mashiach, who will be Mekadosh Shem Shemayim Betzina. And then will come the second Mashiach, Mashiach ben David, the child of Yehuda, who was a Mekadosh Shem Shemayim Befar Hasya. And the truth is, there's a Maila to both Befar Hasya and Betzina. Befar Hasya might be harder, but sometimes when we do things Befar Hasya, people see us. When we daven in shul, and everyone's davening, we're inspired, that better. When we do a heroic deed, somewhere in the little back of the mind is, I wonder how this is going to play when they tell the story over. Will it make it into my book, So there's a certain, Befar Hasya, Mekadosh Shem Shemayim Befar Hasya has a certain, Mekadosh Shem Shemayim, but sin is very hard, because nobody knows. And you're doing, Yosef had to, nobody would have known. Nobody said a word. And Yosef still fought off that Yetzer Hara. So the Betzina has a Maila, and Befar Hasya has a Maila. Both of them are important. Both are Mekadosh Shem Shemayim. And that's our tachlis in the world, to Mekadosh Shem Shemayim. So I was thinking that the same thing that we said before, about sometimes HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends us out, sometimes HaKadosh Baruch Hu keeps us in. And also for the Kiddush Shem Shemayim that we have from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Sometimes our Mekadosh Shem Shemayim is Befar Hasya. We're out there amongst other people, we do kindness, we give food to a poor person, right? Everybody sees us, in shul we make a big donation and so on. That's Mekadosh Shem Shemayim, and it's beautiful, it's good. But sometimes it's a harder Kiddush Shem Shemayim. to do something when nobody's going to know. Nobody's ever going to find out. You gave the donation and nobody will ever know. You helped the person who will ever know. How many times have we been at Shivas? Rahman al-Islam, shouldn't be. But almost everyone I've been at, they said, the parent, I didn't realize how great they were. People are coming all day telling me chesed that they did for them, telling me all the amazing things they didn't know. They didn't know because they did it b'tzinah. So we have this inyan now, perhaps, when we have our Kiddush Shem Shemayim for Hesia, we have to go to shul. Everybody's going to shul. You don't show up in shul, where were you? Right? You don't come to the chesed party, where were you? There's a certain that we're mechazik each other. Ish el rei yom mechazak. We're all mechazik each other. But on the other hand, there's a time where we're b'tzinah, and therefore we're mekadosh Shem Shemayim, and it's even sometimes harder than doing it b'far Hesia. Sometimes one way, sometimes the other way. Both are there. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us a tekufa, the lech lecha tekufa, right? The Vayeitzei tekufa. We're going. And we have to be, everywhere we go, we have to be mekadosh Shem Shemayim. But sometimes He's going to give us the Vayeshev tekufa. He's going to give Hu Yeshev tekufa. And we have to remember that we also have to be mekadosh Shem Shemayim then. So we should all be Zoiche to learn from the Shvat and the Heilige Shvatim, from Yehuda and Yosef and Binyamin. Yehuda and Binyamin, mekadosh Shem Shemayim b'far Hesia. And in different ways. Because Yehuda's mekadosh Shem Shemayim was being willing to undertake incredible busha for the Rebbeinu Shalom. I don't know which is harder. Debra says what Yehuda did with Binyamin, the jumping to the Amsuf. I don't know. But it's B'Shem Shemayim. And then we have the Kiddush Shem Shemayim of Yosef, who did it with nobody knowing, doing it privately, doing it quietly, and still making a difference. The Eibush Zalholfen, that whether it be B'Tzinah, whether it be B'far Hesia, we should always remember that our job in this world, our tachlis in this world, is for us to be mekadosh Shem Shemayim, to train our children to be mekadosh Shem Shemayim, and together with all that amazing Kiddush Shemayim, the Rebbeinu Shalom should have rachmanas on us and take us out of all of the gullus that we're in, sai begashmias, sai beruchnias. So have a good Shabbos and have a wonderful Parshas Vayeitzei.